genel izleyici kitlesi için uygundur.
Saat Farkı'ndan merhabalar. Her hafta farklı ülkelerden, farklı bölgelerden konuklarla bölgesel ve küresel meselelere dair farklı perspektiflere yer vermeye çalışıyoruz. Dünyayı Ekotürk ekranında buluşturuyoruz. Bu hafta Birleşik Arap Emirlikleri'ne uzanacağız. Trump'ın son Gazze planını ve Körfez ülkelerinin yaklaşımını, diğer bölge ülkelerinin yaklaşımını, son dönemde özellikle Trump'ın göreve gelmesi sonrası ve öncesinde yaşanan bölgesel değişimleri, Suriye başta olmak üzere ve tabii ki Gazze'deki durumu biraz Körfez perspektifinden ele alacağız. Birleşik Arap Emirlikleri'nden çok kıymetli bir isim bizlerle. Siyaset bilimci Profesör Abdulkhaleq Abdulla bizlerle olacak. Professor Abdullah, ahlan ve sahlan. Welcome to my show. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you for having me, Feyza.
Thank you very much. Well, Professor, we did our first interview back in September 2021, and since then a lot has changed. So I want to talk to you today from the Gulf perspective and also particularly Emirati perspective on what is going on in the region, the current regional developments from Gaza to Syria. So let's start with Trump. Professor, Trump is back for the second term in the White House. What does this mean for the region, first of all, before we speak in detail about his lunatic Gaza plans? First of all, I want to get your insights on his second term. What does this mean for the Gulf, for the region?
Well, once again, thanks for having me, Feyza. It has been a long while after that talk we had in 2021. And I think we are in a Trump world. We're going to have Trump for the next almost 4 years of Trump policy, of Trump ideas. And Trump has a lot for the world, for America, and for the Middle East, and for Europe. And there is a lot of confusing thing he has said and he is going to do. So Trump is, in that sense, a very difficult president to deal with. That's what happened during the first term. It's going to be the same here. But as for Middle East, I think we are used to him. We dealt with him. The Arab Gulf states, in particular, UAE more so, know him very well. Trump could be very annoying with some of the proposals he said, Gaza being one example.
Yeah.
But then again, also Trump managed to pressure Netanyahu, Israel, to come to terms into a ceasefire. So he could go both ways, very decisive, but also very unpredictable, Feyza.
So let's talk about probably one of the most important issues, of course, recently, his ideas, Middle East Riviera, whatever it means, for Gaza, taking over Gaza Strip and displacing millions of people to Egypt and Jordan. I want to hear your insights on this proposal, because many people have been speculating about whether Arabs have an alternative or they don't have any alternative. Are they confused? What is the Emirati or, in general, Gulf perspective of this lunatic, let's put it that way? I don't know if there is any other word to describe it better, but this proposal, do Arabs have a better unified alternative plan to what he has been proposing for Gaza?
Yes, the Trump proposal is probably the most indecent proposal that comes from a superpower like the United States of America. The most indecent proposal, the most unrealistic, the most shocking. Nobody have expected anything like it. And I think it's dead on arrival. It's really impractical, and there is no way that Trump, with all the power he has, he would be able to implement it to evacuate 2 million Gaza. And so I would consider it, number one, indecent, and number two, impractical. In its place, however, the Arabs have their own alternative, and I think they will be meeting pretty soon. At least 5 Arab countries will be meeting pretty soon to bring their own vision for Gaza. Now the war is almost about to be over. And the first item in the Arab vision for Gaza is no one single Palestinian have to leave Gaza. Gaza is there for the people of Gaza. Gazan people don't have to leave. And I think what happens next is that the Arab probably will come up with a proposal of a sort whereby they would do their best to send as much aid, as much relief, and as much reconstruction and rebuilding of Gaza as possible, something that is more practical, more humane. Humane is very important. You're dealing with 2 million Palestinians. You don't propose indecent proposal to evacuate 2 million people from their land. I think the Arab position will be no for Trump, and here is our way of doing things.
So you think there's an alternative, Professor? Because there has been some debate following His Excellency the Ambassador, UAE's Ambassador to the United States, when he said there is no alternative to what is being proposed. So there were maybe some misunderstanding, but could you please tell us the UAE, its official stance over this issue again? Because there were some critics about his comments.
Leave the ambassador's comments because it was misinformed and misunderstood by many people. When we heard Trump's proposal on February the 4th, immediately in less than 24 hours, February 5th, UAE categorically, officially said, we do not accept this kind of proposal. So that was the official first decisive reaction from UAE, from Saudi Arabia, and from the rest of the Arab world. But then when our president, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, met the Secretary of State of the United States of America just 2 days ago, he was also as decisive, saying, this is not going to go through. We fully reject this proposal, and we have our own that is going to be coordinated with Egypt, with Jordan, with Palestinian, with Saudi Arabia, with Qatar. And I think this proposal probably will be announced in the meeting that is going to take place shortly.
Professor, speaking of reconstruction and also Gaza's future in light of the alternative Arab plan, Trump's plan has united Arab states in opposition, but disagreements, of course, remain over who should govern Gaza and how to fund its reconstruction. So I want to ask your also view on this disagreements, because over Hamas there are still different views. What is really driving this Arab's alternative plan? Is it like anti-Hamas sentiment or Palestinian tragedy itself? There are still very different views on Hamas. So how do you think this Arab unified plan will work for the future of Gaza and its reconstruction?
Look, I think the Arab plan will definitely have to come up with a number of items. Among them is the formation of a national unity government of a sort, or a committee of a sort, made up of the Palestinians themselves, definitely without Hamas. And once that is formed, they will take over Gaza. That is one idea that is being talked about, and I think many people have reached out to Hamas, and Hamas have already made a statement and has been willing to give up its administration of Gaza for the time being. So Hamas definitely is not going to be part of it, and I think it's going to be willingly rather than anybody's going to push Hamas into that position. Once that is cleared, I think there is absolutely no need for then doing more than forming that kind of a national Palestinian committee of a sort, independent mostly, away from Hamas, and maybe even Palestinian Authority might not be there. They have to really engineer something, and I think they're doing it behind the scenes. And after that is done, then there is also some Arab countries who have already made it clear that they will be happy to send peacekeeping force to Gaza. And here I'm talking about United Arab Emirates, who was the only country in the world who said, we are happy to send a peacekeeping force if there is an agreement from the Palestinian, and if there is an American support for it, and if the Israelis allow it. So a peacekeeping force, United Arab Emirates is there, probably Egypt will be there, probably Morocco will be there, among other stuff. So that is also there. But the most important thing is not the political part of day after. The most important part is the relief track. Here is 2 million people who are living desperately with the minimum of human conditions. So for the next year or two, the thing that is most needed for Gaza is relief. Once again, UAE is taking the lead, and I think 42% at least of all the aid that has gone into Gaza came from the United Arab Emirates. We will see more of the same. So relief first, relief second, relief third, that is priority for at least a year or 2 years and two to come.
Professor, if there is such a strong regional will and alternative Arab plan, why didn't this come to place? Because Gaza has been under occupation for a very long time, and there has been a cruel tragedy over there prior to October 7, as you know. So in a way, you think Trump's proposal created this momentum to gather all the Arab countries finally to pose an alternative?
No, I think people started thinking of reconstruction and relief and aids from day one. And we were waiting for the day after. We were waiting for a whole year. And during all this year, there has been a lot of conversation, a lot of planning. I know of at least 3 different plans that were proposed long ago, but all were waiting for 2 things. One, for the war to finish and the war to end. And that is the precondition for any aid and for any plan and for any proposal, because we didn't know how far the destruction will be and how far the Israelis is going to go to really demolish nearly all of Gaza. And we didn't know what the Israelis had in mind either. They were talking about total annexation of Gaza. They were talking about bringing settlers back and some. So there was a lot of confusion. But from day one, the Arabs had their own way of coming to help Gaza, and they all waited for the ceasefire. And we still don't have the ceasefire. We have still to negotiate the second round of it and the third round of it. So that's what delayed it. Trump's indecent proposal didn't have anything to do with it, except that it has been trashed and rejected by all of the Arabs, saying that we have our own proposal. And now that there is a ceasefire, here it is the plan to reconstruct and try to send relief to Gaza.
Mm-hmm. Professor, by the way, UAE was, the first country in the region to normalize its relations, to start this process of Abraham Accords, as we know. After a few years now, do you think it was a good idea? I want to ask you, because there has been a lot of criticism, of course, over this Abraham Accords, as obviously it did not eliminate or address the root cause of the Palestinian tragedy, as we obviously saw with the October 7. And also many people criticized it as it neglected the Palestinians, their feelings, their frustrations. Do you think Abraham Accord was a good idea? And is it still a way forward for other countries to follow suit, namely, most importantly, Saudi Arabia, to follow this model?
Look, UAE is not the first country that normalized, not the first Arab country that normalized relationship with Israel. Egypt was there before us. Jordan was there before us. 6 Arab countries today have normal relationship, peace treaty with Israel. 6 of them. UAE is just one. Many people focus on UAE. Turkey have normal relationship with Israel for the past 80 years, was the first Muslim country to recognize Israel and stay, despite the Gaza war, the relationship continues. So, first of all, it's not true that the UAE was the first
in the Gulf, Professor, let's say in the Gulf.
Okay, in the Gulf, then there is UAE and Bahrain.
Yes.
And if you look at the Gulf, of the 6 Arab countries, most of them have a relationship with Israel. Qatar has a relationship with Israel. Oman has a relationship with Israel, and so are the others, one way or the other. Maybe it's not formal yet, not official yet, but they all do. 18 Arab countries have relationship one way or the other with Israel. So it's not just the UAE who has a relationship with Israel. And I think everybody's looking at his own national interest. And that's what is driving this normalization. Israel is a fact of life in the region today. And I think it has been recognized by 162 different countries in the world, including Turkey. So it's a fact of life and you have to deal with it. Now, when UAE decided to sign that accord, one condition UAE asked for, and it was guaranteed by the America, to stop annexation of the West Bank. That was one condition UAE insisted on. And it was done with a certain period to it. So it was the UAE, once Israel accepted it, we thought that the Palestinians will take advantage of stopping annexation of the West Bank, but apparently the Palestinian, as usual, they didn't take the opportunity. So UAE tried its best, and so is everybody else, but there is no way to force Israel into anything. Even America doesn't have leverage over Netanyahu these days.
Why then he was forced to make the ceasefire with Hamas? What do you think the reason is behind this?
Well, you see, Israel tried time and again to, do things on their own with the best consultation with America. But they have never, during Biden time or before that, and even now the Trump time, I think Israel always has a mind of its own and a logic of its own, and sometimes listens to America and sometimes doesn't listen to America. Maybe this time around, in that one little thing, which was already done, the ceasefire, 89% of it was done before Trump comes in. The last minute of that ceasefire, Trump took a credit for it. And when there is a success, everybody takes credit for it. Trump takes credit for it. Biden takes credit for it. But I think the one party that deserves all the credit, most of the credit for the ceasefire, it's not America, it's not Trump, it's nobody, it is Qatar, and then maybe, of course, Egypt.
Mm-hmm. What about the second part of my question, by the way, Professor? Speaking of the normalization, do you think Saudi Arabia will follow suit? What is the condition for that? Because you gave the example of the UAE on the condition of annexation. So what do you think the Saudis' condition is? And they will follow your suit, do you think, or the suit in the region?
I think many countries are ready to normalize relationships, not just Saudi Arabia, probably Qatar, you would see it, probably Oman, and probably other Arab countries. So it's not just the Saudi Arabia, but the Saudi normalization with Israel is, of course, the most important game changer in the region. And I think that one has been also hammered out. The Saudi leaders have made it clear that we are getting very close to normalizing relationship with Israel, except that there is one very important demand the Saudis are still insisting on, and rightly so, for Israel to accept a two-state solution. I think what is needed, probably the Israelis will never do that, but if there is a roadmap guaranteed by America, stamped by the United Nations, that there will be in the future, near future or distant future, a Palestinian state of a sort, many countries will be more than happy to recognize Israel. Remember, there is an Arab plan that says 22 Arab countries will recognize Israel immediately if it allows for a Palestinian state. So the problem here, how do you figure out way out of whether to do it right away or maybe just a roadmap of a sort? And I think a roadmap at this stage, probably guaranteed by United Nations and the United States, will be enough to normalize relationship with Israel.
Mm-hmm. Professor Abdullah, I also want to talk to you about another dramatic change following December last year, which is Syria. So while we still have time, let's talk about that also. I want to get your perspectives. Qatar, along with Turkey, was on the side of the Syrian opposition from the day one, while Saudi Arabia and the UAE had been lately rehabilitating Bashar al-Assad and in the region and helping to end his diplomatic isolation, but the course has changed. How do you read the change, the regime change under Hayat Tahrir Sham, under HDS, and Assad's fall and the resurgence of political Islam in Syria under this new regime is posing any kind of threat to the UAE?
No, the simple answer, no. Syria is not going to pose any threat to the United Arab Emirates. It's a long distance from us from there, but Syria is very important for the stability of the whole region, for the stability of the Middle East in general. So let me just take your question one bit at a time. Look, UAE, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, everybody helped the Syrian opposition to topple Assad and his regime. Everybody was caring for the people of Syria, for the state of Syria, for Syria as such. So it was not just Turkey, it was not just Qatar who tried to help the opposition. As a matter of fact, UAE was in the forefront to eject Syria from the Arab League, if you remember, for something like 10 years, okay? So everybody tried to help the opposition and the Syrian people to get rid of Assad. Came 2019, everybody found out that this opposition failed and that Assad has won. So from 2019 onward, 2020, etc., Assad became the only alternative. And once again, because people wanted to help the Syrian people, UAE being one of them, to recognize the facts on the ground, they said, okay, opposition has failed. We have no other alternative but Assad. So once again, the UAE and others have recognized, and 22 Arab countries, by the way, recognized the fact that Assad has won and Assad is in control of it, except for Idlib and some other places in the south-north. However, southeast. However, Assad regime has fallen. Once again, you come to Syria not for Ahmed al-Shara or for the regime. You come to Syria as an Arab country, as a people of Syria. 25 million Syrians are there. You care for them. So UAE has immediately, among other countries, has immediately recognized the fact that there is a new regime there and the Syrian people are in support of it. So we don't have any choices but to recognize this fact. And remember that, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of New Syria came to the UAE twice. He visited UAE, the only country in the world, twice, not once. Also, Ahmed al-Shara, the new president, has called the first president he calls over the phone was for United Arab Emirates, which means that they are welcomed by the UAE. We wish them all the best. And I think this new Syria needs coordination between Turkey and the United Arab Emirates and the other Arab countries, hopefully to fix Syria and turn it into a place for stability for the region.
So, Professor Abdullah, then we will have more unified, more united approach in the region this term, because the first term of Trump was, there were a lot of differences, a lot of crises actually within the Gulf, also regional countries, among the regional countries. So do you expect more unified approach this term? What might be the challenging, some potential crisis, let's say, for the region in the next 4 years, especially under Trump? What do you expect?
Look, I think most countries in the region, leave Trump out of it for a while, and let's talk about the major powers in the region. Turkey, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Egypt, everybody, more or less, except for Iran. And I'm leaving Iran a little bit out of my talk here. I think everybody is in the mood for conversation, for cooperation, for coordination. You know, we had 10 years of confrontation. You remember 2017 and 18, all the way to 2000 and probably 2000. There was a UAE and Turkey and Iran and everybody at each other's throat. I think everybody, 2020, recognized that this is just taking us nowhere. And they decided that the next 10 years is going to be years of cooperation, years of conversation, years of coordination. So we have gone from the bad sea of confrontation to the good sea of conversation. And I think this is going to continue, whether there is Trump or whether there is Biden. It doesn't matter what the Americans think. They might facilitate it, they might object to it. It doesn't matter. Khalas, there is a conversation between Ankara and Abu Dhabi and Tehran and everybody else. So we are in this new area of good sea standing for conversation rather than confrontation. Going to your second question, I think, look, if we go into 2025, and we don't want to go too far away, just we're at the beginning of 2025, and I think there are two things that might shape the region 2025. One, there is a possibility that Netanyahu and Israel lash out against Iran's nuclear facilities. That is scenario for war and confrontation and military, the militarization of the region. But then there is the second also scenario, which is very possible by end of 2025 as we go on, and that is Israel, Saudi Arabia normalization. Israel and other countries' normalization. Trump could push into either of these two options, okay? And I say Trump and America because America is back in a big way in the Middle East. They have to mediate between Lebanon and Israel. They need to mediate between Israel and Saudi Arabia. They might mediate between Syria and Israel. So America is in a big way, is back in a big way, and that is the third macro trend that is in the region. America is back. Scenario for a war is possible. I give it 20% now. Scenario for a peace and normalization is possible. I give it maybe 50%, and it might increase as the year continues.
Professor, thank you very much for this conversation. Time is up. Hopefully the next interview will not be after 4 years, but sooner. Thanks a lot. Şükran cezilen.
Thank you for having me. Şükran Feyza.
Evet, Saat Farkı'nda Profesör Doktor Abdulkhaleq Abdullah'ı ağırladık Birleşik Arap Emirlikleri'nden. Siyaset bilimci, bölgeyi konuştuk, Trump'ın Gazze planını, bölgenin Körfez ülkelerinin özellikle bu plana yaklaşımını ve kendilerinin alternatif planlarını konuştuk. Suriye'deki değişimi ve bölgedeki tüm aslında değişimleri konuşmaya çalıştık. Önümüzdeki hafta yine farklı bir konuyla, farklı bir konukla karşınızda olmak dileğiyle. Hoşça kalın.